Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome back. It's 7:30 Eastern, and it is time for us to be together again, which I am grateful for. Thanks for being here. Hey, couple quick things before we get going. Do you guys know that CrimeCon UK is actually right around the corner? April, May, June. We're 2 months away. And look what's happening right there in the big auditorium right there on Saturday night at prime time. That is correct. Me and my buddy Joseph Scott Morgan are going to be hosting a a presentation on the murder of Ellen Greenberg. We're going to be doing that in London this year. If you are on that side of the pond and haven't come to CrimeCon UK before, you need to come on down. It is a blast. We're gonna be having some fun. I'd like to meet you there. I'm actually going to bring my wife this time. So those of you that were asking in the Ask Got Me Anything if you could meet Mrs. Fish, Kimberly will be coming with me this time. But there I am. It's all official. It's all official. That is June 6th in London. Oh my goodness. It's going to be a good time. I hope that I will see you there. All right. Let's get into the bones of this, okay? Back in December, 50-year-old Brian Thompson was gunned down in the streets of New York City, December 4th. Did not take long to track down his assassin, at least the person that police say is his assassin. They only had a little bit to go on. These were the images that they released at the time. And of course, he's been all over the news. He was apprehended here in my adopted home state of Pennsylvania. A young man named Luigi Mangione. Now, why are we talking about this? Now, I know that there are a lot of folks that feel that that are cheerleaders of Mr. Mangione. I am not one of them. For whatever sins there are in the world, vigilante murder is not the way to go about righting those wrongs. I just don't think that is what we need to be doing as citizens of a society like our great society here in America. I think that due process is the way to go about making change. It is a slow way to do it. It is oftentimes an extremely frustrating way to do it. But that is the way our system is designed. And while I can sympathize with Mr. Mangione and people like him who think that there are big problems here in our society and they want to be able to fix them, this certainly isn't the way to do it, gunning down a man in the street. That's just on another level for me. Cannot believe that there are people out there that are cheering this guy on. Maybe you're one of them. I hope you're not. To me, it's just not kosher. Now, what has happened? Man, I feel like I need to scooch over. What has happened in the last couple of days is that the Attorney General of these great United States, one Pam Bondi, has put out there, she's directed federal prosecutors to seek the DP for Mr. Mangione. Now, you might be asking yourself, what the devil? Why are the feds involved in this at all? Usually murder is a state thing, and you are correct, usually. But the crimes that Mr. Mangione is accused of start to involve the feds. And that's why this is a federal crime. And I think that he's probably wishing that it was not federal right now. But let's start with the press release. Okay, this came out day before yesterday. I got this from justice.gov. For immediate release, the Office of Public Affairs for the Department of Justice. Today, Attorney General Pamela Bondi released the following statement, quote, Luigi Mangione's murder of Brian Thompson, an innocent man and father of two young children, was a premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. Hey, if you ever wonder why I have to say something like Luigi Mangione is the alleged assassin, or police say that he's the assassin, it is because I do not have high immunity, nor do I have qualified immunity from things like defamation. Attorney General Pam Bondi does. And they are the ones making the allegations, so that's what they say. All right, starting over. Luigi Mangione's murder of Brian Thompson, an innocent man and father of 2 young children, was a premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. After careful consideration, I have directed federal prosecutors to seek the DP in this case as we carry out the President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again. By the way, I just really try to be politics free on the channel. I don't care what you believe politically. If you're left, right, or center, or somewhere in the spectrum, in the political spectrum, I respect and care for you the same. So that's why I kind of hemmed and hawed about reading that, just because it's political. But we're going to go ahead and read the release. As alleged, Luigi Mangione stalked and murdered United Healthcare executive Brian Thompson on December 4th, 2024. The murder was an act of political violence. Mangione's actions involved substantial planning and premeditation, and because the murder took place in public with bystanders nearby, may have posed grave risk of death to additional persons. Following federal murder charges handed down on December 19th, 2024. By the way, I cannot find this case anywhere in the federal lookup system. I'm glad to the New York Times for having shared some documents that I'm going to share with you. But anyway, following the murder charges handed down on the 19th of December, Attorney General Bondi has now directed Acting U.S. Attorney Matthew Podolsky to seek the death penalty in the case. This is in line with Attorney General Bondi's Day 1 memo as Attorney General. That should say titled, not entitled, reviving the federal DP and lifting the moratorium on the unaliving of those who get the penalty. YouTube. Anywho, okay, so of course this isn't sitting well with, let's bring up our victim here. This isn't sitting well in the state of New York where this is being prosecuted. Obviously, the state of New York has very specific feelings about the DP. They're a state that does not. I actually don't know if it's still on the books or not, but like in Pennsylvania, it's still on the books, but there hasn't been one since the 70s. It's effectively not on the books anymore. New York, if it's not off the books, it effectively is. Okay, so, but I'm not going to get into that because that's all the political stuff. Let me bring you over to this document here, which is the actual, complaint. And the reason I'm bringing this up is so that we can kind of answer the question of why the feds are involved in this at all. It's not a long document. All right, count number 1 is stalking, and it's traveling interstate. That's what brings the feds in. Once you start crossing state lines, that is when the feds have jurisdiction. Okay, so from at least, I think that's supposed to say on or about November 24th to in or about, I don't know, December 4th, in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Luigi Nicholas Mangione, the defendant, traveled in interstate commerce with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, and place under surveillance with the intent to kill, injure, harass, or intimidate another person, and in the course of and as a result of such travel engaged in conduct that placed the person in reasonable fear of death of and serious bodily injury to that person, and in the course of engaging in such conduct caused the death of that person. To wit, Mangione traveled from Georgia to New York for the purpose of stalking and killing Brian Thompson, And while in New York, Mangione stalked and then shot and killed Thompson in the vicinity of West 54th Street and 6th Avenue. Count 2 is another stalking charge, but I think this one has to do... this one's a little bit different. From at least in or about the 24th of November to the 4th of December in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Mangione, the defendant, with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, and place under surveillance with intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate another person, used electronic communication service and electronic communication system of interstate commerce. Yada, yada, right? That is why we've got this. Count 3. On or about the 4th, this is murder with the use of a firearm. In the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Luigi Mangione, the defendant, during and in relation to the crimes of violence for which he may be prosecuted in a court of the United States, namely the stalking offenses charged in 1 and 2. This complaint knowingly used and carried a pew-pew and in furtherance of such crimes, possessed it, yada, 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 shot and killed Thompson. Count 4 is another pew-pew offense. He used it. It was equipped with a silencer, a muffler. We usually call those suppressors. Okay. Here is basically the affidavit, okay, the complaint. I'm a special agent with the FBI and am assigned to the FBI's Violent Crimes Task Force. I have been personally involved in the investigation of this matter. This affidavit is based on my blah, 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 blah. His bona fides, right? I'm alleging I've learned the following blah, blah, blah. Okay. On December 4th, at approximately 6:45 a.m., Brian Thompson, the victim, the CEO of a nationwide health insurance company, was shot and killed by a masked assailant while walking on West 54th Street toward a hotel in Midtown Manhattan, where a company investor conference was scheduled to begin at 8. As discussed below, the shooter was later identified as Mangione, the defendant. Security camera video showed the shooter, who was wearing a gray backpack. Yeah, I don't know why he chose such a backpack that stood out so much on that. Like he was worried about how he looked. But okay. Gray backpack, come from between two parked cars, walk up behind the victim and shoot the victim in the leg and back outside of a Midtown hotel's entrance on West 54th. The firearm the shooter used appeared to have a sound suppressing device or silencer attached to the front of its barrel. A still image from the security camera video of the shooting is provided below. Law enforcement personnel who responded to the scene of the shooting recovered, among other items, spent 9mm shell casings and at least one round of live 9mm ammunition. The words deny, delay, and depose were written on the side of some of the shell casings. Responding law enforcement personnel also recovered a cell phone in the vicinity of the location where the shooting had occurred. Based on my participation in this investigation, my conversations with other LEO, my examination of documents obtained through a court-authorized search warrant, my review of documents prepared by others, blah, 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 I'm formulating the following timeline of the shooter's movements from November 24th up to and including December 4th. Okay, on the 24th, at approximately 10:11 p.m., the shooter arrived in New York City on an intercity bus at the Port Authority bus terminal in Manhattan. The bus originated in Atlanta, Georgia. The shooter took a taxi to the area around the Midtown Hotel and stayed in the area for approximately 1 hour before taking another taxi to a hostel located in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. That looks to me like, by the way, he's trying to kind of cover up, make it more difficult to follow what it is that he's doing. Go to a hotel, go to a hostel. Shooter registered at the hostel under the name Mark Rosario and provided a false New Jersey driver's license as a form of identification. I wonder how good of an ID that is. Huh. It looks pretty darn good. I mean, I know it's just a photo. Okay, so there is the false New Jersey driver's license. When the shooter was checking in at the hotel, the desk clerk asked the shooter to remove his mask, which he did, revealing his face to the security camera. as shown below. And there he is. Other than this interaction with the desk clerk, the shooter consistently kept his mask on throughout his time in New York, including while inside the hostel. Yeah, that is a major change that we have made in our country since COVID, right? That it's now, I mean, we don't have a second thought about people wearing masks. Had this happened in 2019, we'd all be like, "What are you doing walking around with a mask on, you psycho?" But anyway, December 4th at approximately 5:35 a.m., the shooter left the hostel wearing the gray backpack and rode an electric bicycle down Central Park West to a location near the Midtown Hotel, as shown below. Oh, so he was casing the hotel. That's what he was doing. All right. At approximately 5:41 a.m., the shooter walked around the area of the Midtown Hotel and at one point purchased items from a nearby coffee shop. The shooter then returned to a bench in the vicinity of the Midtown Hotel. On at least one occasion prior to the murder, the shooter was depicted using a cell phone. At approximately 6:45 a.m., after waiting near the Midtown Hotel for approximately an hour, the shooter saw and approached the victim, shot the victim multiple times, and then fled on foot to West 55th Street, where the shooter mounted the electric bicycle and rode towards Central Park. After disappearing inside the park for a period of time, the shooter was captured on video again exiting the park near West 77th Street and Central Park West, riding north on Central Park West. When he emerged from the park, the shooter was no longer carrying the gray backpack as shown below. So there he is entering, there he is leaving. At approximately 6:58 a.m., security camera footage captured the shooter riding the electric bicycle near West 85th Street and Columbus Avenue. 2 minutes later, at approximately 7 a.m., the shooter was captured on video walking near 86th Street and Columbus Avenue without the electric bicycle. At approximately 7:04 a.m., the shooter entered a taxi that drove him to the George Washington Bridge bus terminal in the vicinity of West 179th Street and Fort Washington Avenue in Upper Manhattan. The shooter's face was captured by a camera in the taxi as shown below. At approximately, it doesn't matter. He has very distinct features, right? I mean, that is a very distinct looking young man. I wish I had those eyebrows. Those are amazing. I look like a Doberman with my eyebrows. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm a Doberman. But yeah, very distinctive features. You'd think like make a couple changes. But okay. No video. Let's see. At 7:30 a.m., video footage from the George Washington bus terminal captured the shooter entering the facility. No video footage showed the shooter leaving the bus terminal, suggesting the shooter left New York City. On or about December 6th, law enforcement officers searching Central Park found a gray backpack matching the appearance of the gray backpack worn by the shooter as depicted below. Okay. Based on my participation in this investigation, blah, 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 this is what I know. On December 9th, 2024, at approximately 9:14 a.m., a worker at a fast food restaurant in Altoona, Pennsylvania, called the police about a male customer later identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione, the defendant, who the worker believed resembled photos of the shooter that had been broadcast in the media following the victim's murder. Members of the Altoona PD responded and encountered the defendant, who they also believed matched the appearance of the shooter. When approached by responding officers and asked for identification, he offered a false New Jersey ID used by the shooter to check into the hostel. Mangione was later found to be in possession of a loaded 9mm pistol and silencer consistent with the weapon used to kill the victim. Dude, if you're getting rid of stuff, maybe get rid of the murder weapon. You went over the George Washington Bridge, sir. Oh my goodness. Put it in the drink. But okay, I'm glad you didn't. I am grateful for stupid criminals. Okay, Mangione was later found to be in possession. Clothing that matched apparel that the shooter wore in the security camera videos. A notebook, several $1,000s in cash, an envelope associated with an FDIC insured bank. and a letter addressed to the feds. The 9mm pistol and silencer were later tested and found to be operable by a ballistics examiner from the New York PD. Photographs of the firearm and silencer recovered from Mangione are depicted below. There they are. One with the mag, one with the suppressor. Okay. The notebook contains several handwritten pages that express hostility towards the healthcare industry and wealthy executives in particular. For example, the notebook contained the following statements and entries that appear to correspond to particular dates. An entry marked as August 15th. The notebook described how the details are finally coming together, and I'm glad in a way that I procrastinated because it allowed me to learn more about United Healthcare. The notebook entry also stated that the target is insurance because it checks every box. In an entry marked October 22, the notebook stated 1.5 months. This investor conference is a true windfall, and most importantly, the message becomes self-evident. Later on in the entry, the notebook describes an intent to whack the CEO of one of the insurance companies at its investor conference. As described above, October 22nd was approximately 6 weeks before the date of the murder of the victim, which occurred on the date of the company's investor conference. The feds later recovered from the defendant. The feds letter recovered from Mangione stated, "I wasn't working with anyone. This is fairly trivial, some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. Based on my own research, I believe that CAD refers to computer-aided design." The feds later also stated, "P.S. You can check serial numbers to verify this is all self-funded, my own ATM withdrawals." Based on all of the above, my review of photographs of the shooter and my review of arrest photographs makes me wonder why he even ran if he was planning on being caught. I respectfully submit that Mangione is the shooter who shot and killed the victim on the 4th of December. Additionally, the notebook entry is the feds letter, the shooter's apparent surveillance of the Midtown Hotel on November 24th and December 4th, and the shooter's use of counter-surveillance techniques and escape from New York City all suggest that the shooter undertook extensive efforts to identify the victim, place the victim under surveillance, and track the victim's whereabouts in the time period leading up to the murder. Below are surveillance stills of the shooter and an arrest photograph of Mangione. Yeah. Okay. There he is. Wherefore, I respectfully request that a warrant be issued for the defendant. Blah, blah, blah. So that is the actual federal complaint. Let's see what you guys are talking about over here. Let me close down lower thirds. Let's see. I just want to make sure this refreshes. Let's see. Not sure what this is. Just hitting. Disappointed Gavin didn't answer the first I've ever asked him last night. I'll be lurking. Okay. Sometimes I skip over things if I feel like I've answered them. What else have we got? Yep. Okay. A lot of conversation going on in here. Robin says, everyone is going to be fangirling with both of you for that one. Love Joseph Scott Morgan. Yeah, we're going to be having a good time. Let's bring this up. I'm looking forward to it. Joseph Scott Morgan, first off, we met last year at CrimeCon UK for the first time in person. We had worked together on the Ellen Greenberg case. What am I trying to do? We had worked together on the Ellen Greenberg case, covering it for Nancy Grace. Separately for Nancy Grace, and then he had contacted me for some information on the case, which I was glad to give him. And then it was really great to meet him in London last year. His wife Kim is awesome. She's awesome. And as we went out, I think we were just at dinner one night. We floated the idea of, hey, why don't we do something on Ellen Greenberg? See if Nancy would do it here in London next year. We brought her over to the table, and she said, "Yeah." She said, "Yes, darlings, let's do it. Let's do it." She's proper. She's from Essex. I don't know if I've got an Essex accent. I don't, guys. I don't. No. I do not have it. Nancy is Essex all the way. Anyway, she loved the idea, and it was Kim and Joseph that pushed it through. So I'm really excited. I hope you guys enjoy it, those of you who will be there. And then my wife will be there with me. So my wife, her name is also Kimberly, though she doesn't go by Kim. She goes by Kimberly. So the two Kimberlys and then Joseph and Gavin. Should be a good time. Hope you guys come. And I also will say that the reason that I go to CrimeCon London is because it's smaller. I really like that it's much, much smaller. And I don't know. I just don't like big places all that much. So one of these days I'm going to have to actually go to CrimeCon here in the US. But for now, I just love CrimeCon UK. It's going to be fun. Patty says, I agree. Unaliving someone is not the answer to corporate health insurance issues. Yeah. Super Charismatic says, after the public response to this, I'm sure they're going to want to make sure to nip this in the bud and make an example of him. Yeah, I think so, though. If he gets convicted, he will be imprisoned for a long, long time. It won't happen quickly. Stuck on Strings says, Gavin, I understand the frustration with American healthcare firsthand. Trust I expatriated to a different country that has amazing, universal, and affordable healthcare. You know what? That is the privilege of. I don't want to. I'm a big fan of the economist Milton Friedman, and one of the things that he taught is that people will vote with their legs. They will travel, right? And in order to travel, you have to either be desperate enough or have enough money to do it, or a combination of the two. There are other factors, of course, too, but those are the things that he talked about. And so that is the privilege of somebody who is frustrated enough and has enough resources to do that. So I hope that's worked out really well for you. One Man's Trash says, Gavin, I wonder if he even thought about it becoming federal. I think he did. He wrote a letter to the feds. That's pretty crazy. Susan Lewis says, is it just me, or is there always a notebook or something in writing involved in cases like this? Why, when the whole plan is in writing, are perpetrators surprised when they're arrested? I was thinking the same thing, Susan. Oh my goodness. Like, the chances of you getting away with it must be exponentially higher if you just shut up, including to yourself. Don't write those kinds of things out. And like, he had a really good plan. He had a very good plan. And I think that he might have gotten away with it had he done a couple of other things. And I'm not going to try to teach a course on how to get away with murder here, but he was just missing a couple things. And then the obvious one is, don't go into public places where people can spend a lot of time looking at you. Go through the drive-through, man. The drive-through. Drive a low car so they can barely see you. It's so dumb. I don't know why they do that either, Susan. Great comment, and thank you for the super chat. Hey, Mooney, thank you very much for the gifting of memberships. You are so great. And I just don't want to lionize this guy. He's a murderer, allegedly. Okay, let's keep going. Those eyebrows are on fleck. Okay, I'm too old to understand what that means, Robin. I'm too old for it. I don't know. But I take from the context that is a good thing. Yes, Baba Yaga says powerful eyebrows. Autumn says must have some Italian in him. I don't know. His name is Luigi Mangione. I would say he probably does have some Italian in him. Oh, that's funny. You can buy bushy eyebrows. You know what I need to buy? And it's becoming ever more obvious the longer my hair gets, is I need to do the whole Turkish Express, man. My hairline is halfway up my head and it's embarrassing. I'm an old man, though. You just got to accept life as it comes at you. Let's see. Graciela Gracie G says, "Good day from Melbourne, Australia. Sorry I'm late as I'm a mod for the docket." Well, good on you. Glad you're here. Let's see. Bobby Yaga says, "I think he knew what he was doing. I think he was prepared to spend life in prison, but he didn't expect federal charges." Yeah, maybe. Jennifer Bradley says, "Gavin, I sold robotics and integration. We had a 3D scanner. I had no idea a weapon could be made by a 3D scanner." Yeah. Was his 3D printed, though? Let me go back to this. That to me looked like a... let me just zoom on this. I mean, to me, that looks like a very... And you guys are like, "I can't see it though, Gavin." Let me just bring it up here. Yeah, I'm looking for the markings that would tell me what it is. I can't make any out, but that is a standard, Smith & Wesson style 9mm. But yes, Jennifer, yeah, I mean, yeah, there are, not only is it possible, it happens a lot. I mean, as I've been out at shooting ranges and so forth, I've seen a lot of 3D printed weapons. Let's see, just refresh. Sorry, guys, give me a second. Robin says, "A brilliant mind, but also so many overt mistakes." Yeah, for sure. BJM, love your Triad accent. Yeah, it's bad. I can't do it, but I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm trying to think how she speaks. She doesn't say her THs. She says Fs. And yeah, I can't do it. But she has a very distinct way of speaking. Graciela says, "Love the palmy accent. Australian has a funny one too." Here, I try hard to sound Australian after 35 years in Australia from Uruguay. I have a bit of a Spanish sound still. Uruguay is a beautiful place. Hey, Graciela, do you speak Guarani? Being from Uruguay? Let me know. Keep on going. Hand of Ike. That Essex accent was terrible. Okay, on a level from good to Dick Van Dyke, how was it? Was it Dick Van Dyke? Is that what it was? He says it. I'm from the UK, and it was some mingle of Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins and Jason Statham. Jason Statham. Yeah. I know I can't. I told you I'm bad at it. Let's see. One man's trash. I didn't realize the letter was to the feds. Obviously, flew right over my old head. Yeah, little details do that. I think writings, Lee says, have increased going back to the Unabomber manifesto. Yeah, there's always a manifesto. Robin says, "My dude, I'm older than you." Well, I hope your hairline is younger than me. I think I need bangs. Should I do the comb forward? Is that what I should do? Just a little, what do our friends call it? A fringe? Should I have a fringe? That's funny. Mooney says it was printed. I mean, that is some high quality printing if that was printed. And I mean, what did he use? Laser sintering for the metal part of it? That looks machined to me, or forged. But I hit the wrong button. But what do I know, right? Maybe part of it was. I don't think that, but anyway, maybe it was. Maybe it was. I will trust you guys on that, especially if Mooney's saying it. Let's see. Keep going. Lee T says Gavin may be headed to man bun territory soon. Scott Peterson is bringing them back on trend. Now I can't do that. Jess says, I think he expected all of this and wanted to expose his notes. He ran to make it viral. He wants more people to do it. Jess, that's an interesting take. Yeah. Lisa Pizza says, Gavin, CEO's family never got on TV and made a tearful statement remark. Isn't that odd? I think that his wife, I think the story was that he and his wife were separated. While they were legally married, they had parted ways, but I don't know. Kat says it's a really complicated case, very controversial indeed. The thing is, United Healthcare made millions of dollars off his death. They take out life insurance on their higher up employees. So what did he really accomplish? Okay. Nightbot's having issues tonight, Autumn. Sorry about that. Tiff says, bangs nature's Botox. That's funny. That is funny. GF, I thought only the silencer was made by a 3D printer. That makes more sense to me. Yeah, you can tell that it's plastic, so it would just have muffle chambers in it, right? It'd only be able to be used a few times, but it would work. Yeah, this does not, to me, look 3D printed at all. This, you can see the, what do they call those? I used to be in manufacturing. I have to think about this. You can see the registrations of the injection molding on the grip portion, and then the upper is all metal. So is the barrel. But this does look like it may have been 3D printed. So maybe you're right, Tina. God Secretary Gavin says, Gavin, it was definitely printed. There was a show on it. Also, I just can't put my mind around this dude's thought process. Yeah. The metal part was added. Okay. But that's the part that is the traceable part. Like, everything in here is the stuff that puts markings on the shell, like the ejector, the firing pin, the barrel. Those are all things that are forensically important. So why would you print a the trigger, the trigger guard, the grip, and all that, and then use an off the shelf? It honestly looks Smith & Wesson to me, but I'm not an expert on it. The suppressor for sure definitely looks printed. You can see lines and all that stuff in it. But anyway, maybe let's see. Jessica Roblin says, a homemade weapon with no serial number created by assembling a mix of commercial and DIY parts. The gun appears to be a Chairman 1V1, a tweak of popular, partially 3D printed Glock style. Okay. Jessica, you seem to know more about it than me. No, it's the registration marks from that you can see the injection molding registration marks right there. Like they stand out like a sore thumb from like all the years in manufacturing that I spent. The mag has them too. Yeah, you can see the registration right there on the mag. I don't know. Can you guys see my mouse? So, but it, maybe what I forgot. Jessica was telling us is that it was a conglomeration of parts. Yeah, Mooney says that. Would it not have a serial number? Not if it was assembled. Gen X says, Gavin, so he was not stalking UHC CEO specifically, or was he just the one CEO he saw first? Well, I think he was the only CEO at the conference. So I think that was his target. Like, in general, from the things that he wrote, it sounded like he would take out any CEO. But because the conference was an investor conference for United Healthcare, I think he was going after Mr. Thompson. We can bring that up. Yeah, partially 3D printed. Okay. Yeah, great comments tonight, guys. Great comments. Hey, tomorrow we are going to be circling back around to Matty Soto. This is a case that is super important to me, and I don't want this to just be the Matty Soto channel, but I do want to talk about the motions to suppress. That was brought up on the Fish Tank over on Facebook, and I want to talk about that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the suppression hearings. We're going to talk about what it is that they want suppressed, and then we're going to go back and we're going to listen to the interview with Stephen Stearns where the police officer got his permission to search his phone. So we're definitely going to do that. We're going to be talking about Matty tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Remember that you can always find me over here on the old website, gavinfish.com. Wrong button. Man, I'm having problems with buttons tonight. So the link is always in the description below, but head on over to gavinfish.com. That is where you will see crime cod articles. You'll see some blog posts of mine. You'll see case pages for the cases that are super important to me, the ones that I've covered the most, including Maddie, including Ellen, and several others. So if you've never been to my website before, please check that out. With that, I will bid you adieu. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I appreciate the time that you spend with me and the support you give me. We will see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.